Okay, I'll start off this haul with the Emax Hawk 5, and this is a 5-inch drone that you guys have requested. This has been out for a little while, but I had a little bit of trouble acquiring this because it was out of stock. I guess it's pretty popular, but for those of you who have been waiting on my opinion on this, I'm going to go ahead and we'll review this very soon, but I'm just going to unbox here today, and we'll just take a look at what we get in the box. Okay, we get some stickers. We have a manual here for the receiver. I think this is a XM Plus FreeSky receiver. And we have a little manual for the all-in-one stack, which is the 4-in-1 ESD F4 flight controller, video transmitter, and receiver stack. Okay, in the package they include 2 of the Pagoda antennas. I think these are the left-hand circular polarized because they're white. You get a spare micro FL to SMA adapter. They include the control joystick for the Foxeer Aero camera, and then you get a baggie with some spare screws and some zip ties. They include the manual for the camera. And it looks like they've thrown in a spare arm here, but it's very nice in case you break one. And they include 2 sets of these Avon 5-inch props. And 2 battery straps are included in the package. Okay, so there's a quick look at the drone. Obviously we start off with the light spec motors here. These are the 2206 2300 kV motors with the open bottom design. Pretty nice. The frame itself looks pretty sturdy, pretty thick arms. I'll go and measure all that in the review, but just by looking at it, it looks like all the carbon looks pretty sturdy, well constructed. Obviously you got your Magnum stack here in the center here. That's something that they've been selling for a while now, so they're using that in this frame. And then you got the Foxeer Aero Micro in the front here. It's the black version. So it looks like the default antenna they include on here is the whip antenna that has the micro FL connector, goes to the video transmitter. So if you want to switch to the Pagoda antenna, you'll have to swap out this for the adapter and then mount the antenna somewhere probably here in the back and put the antenna on here. The design of the frame kind of reminds me a lot of the Baby Hawk R, if you guys are familiar with that, 2-inch and 3-inch model. And obviously you run the battery strap through here, and then you have the sticky pad on the very bottom for the battery, but I think you can also run the battery up on top here as well. But I think that's also a good space for a GoPro if you want to put a GoPro up there as well. Anyway, I'll have a full review video on this coming up pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so I just got in the new Foxeer F405 flight controller. This is a flight controller and PDB all-in-one. Comes with the MPU6000 gyro, and you can see some specs here. Up to 50 amps max on each ESC. Okay, so here's a quick look at what you get in the box. You get a capacitor, 470 microfarad, a 35 volt capacitor, and you get some of these rubber dampeners, and that's for these M4 mounting holes. And you can see the sort of the style of this flight controller. Obviously you got your ECs in the corner along with your signal wires. Bunch of pads here. You got a current sensor. Yeah, I'll do a full video on this one a little bit later to the bottom of the board. I think the biggest feature of this board is that it now supports the camera control feature on most of the Foxeer cameras, like the Aero, Micro Aero, Monster, Micro Monster, and the Predator series. So I'll be demonstrating that in the review video for this board. Yeah, if you're looking for a low profile build, single board instead of 2 boards, PDB and flight controller, definitely check this one out, and I'll have a full video on this coming up a little bit later. Okay, got a couple things here from Beta FPV. They sent me this new 1S battery. It's a 550 milliamp hour high volt, 50 to 100C, and comes with the PH 2.0 connector, so it should be good for a lot of the ones that are in the 75 millimeter size in terms of brushed or brushless. I'll be testing this out in a future video. And they also sent me the new F3 flight controller here. This one has a Betaflight OSD and has built-in FreeSky receiver. So that's what you get in the box. You get your screws and rubber mounting pieces here, and this is the flight controller board itself. It comes with a PH 2.0 connector already soldered on. You get your USB plug coming out of the bottom. Get your plugs here for your motors. It looks like you got a boot button right there. Not sure what that's a bind button for the receiver. This is the top of the board. Use your OSD chip there. It looks like connection for your camera is going to be there, and the built-in receiver antenna is right there. So this might be a good replacement for, say, something like the board in the King Kong series, the tiny 6.7, something like that. Because those don't come with a Betaflight OSD. So I'm not sure if I'll be putting that in there or something else. I might replace the board in the 65S Lite that comes with the silver firmware, since this runs Betaflight. So this might be a good replacement for that one too. So anyway, I'll have a video on this coming up soon. Okay, so they also sent me a new controller. This is I think very similar to the one that comes from King Kong, but this one here comes with the FreeSky firmware already flashed. I think it's the D8 firmware. Anyways, here's a quick look at it. You can see it's just white instead of black, and instead of the, I think it was the Futaba firmware on the King Kong version, this one comes with the FreeSky firmware already on there. And this one is going to be pretty good for your tiny whoops and anything that's going to be flying self-level. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a future video. Probably will be flying that F3 board with the FreeSky receiver with this particular controller in that video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, got a couple more new products in here from AKK, and we've got here the FX3 Ultimate and the FX2 Ultimate Mini. I think these are kind of updated versions of previous products they've had. Okay, so this is the FX2 Ultimate Mini, and I think this only goes up to 600 milliwatts, unlike the FX2 Ultimate. I think that went to 1.2 watts. But you can see here, this is a half-size board, not a full-size board. So instead of a full-size 30 by 30 board, you get a half-size, I think it's 30 by 15 size board here. And instead of the plug-in connector here, we have basically solder points for all of the connections, which I think most people prefer that. I would prefer solder points versus a connector. It does actually save a little bit of weight. And yeah, has a little microphone here on this side. Got your BEC MCX connector. You got a button here for switching, and looks like you got some LEDs on there. It does come with your MCX connector to SMA adapter. I'll have a video on this in more detail a little bit later. And this one is the FX3 Ultimate. Very similar to the original FX3. Again, they've gone with the solder points instead of the connector here on the edge. And no LED on here. There used to be an LED that would show your bands and channels. Got a microphone there, button there. Small LEDs here. I think that's better. The MCX connector, of course, like before, but now you have a micro FL connector. If you happen to have a micro FL antenna, you want to use that instead. That's also nice. Same 20 by 20 board here for your 20 by 20 stacks, and it goes up to 600 milliwatts. So I think I definitely like this one as an update and improvement over the original version, because I like the solder points instead of the connector. It makes it a little bit easier to hook up into your builds.